Hello, Devlin Bishop here with you, and welcome to another edition of Devlin's Pirate Radio Show. And I hope you guys have been having a great holiday season, and I hope everything was just terrific during your Christmas and your New Year's, and well, it's a brand new year on the verge of starting. But before we get into that new year, it's time to look back and reflect at the past, because doesn't matter what kind of year you have, if it was an awesome year or, well, quite frankly, a shitty year like I had, and I'm starting to find out that more other people certainly had. Whatever it matter, it doesn't really matter, because one thing that was consistent in our life is the entertainment we turn to survive the year. Okay, yeah, we turn to our friends and family during the hard times, but come on, as pop culture geeks, you know that we always kind of just jump into our music, or what we watch at the theater, or what we watch on TV or on our computers. And that's why today is a special episode, because it is the best of 2015. Now, I said it, I've had a crappy year, so there's not much I can say has been good. When I look back at it, yes, I can, but I'll deal with that in future episodes. But when I look at the stuff I watch, there's always good stuff that makes me smile, and makes me become addicted, and makes me hit repeat on my MP3 player, or watch a movie in theaters over and over, or, just watch a favorite show on my DVDs all over the place. Anyhow, this is what that's about. This episode, I'm going to be taking a look at the best in movies. I'm going to take a look at my 10 best songs, and I'm going to take a look at my 10 favorite TV shows / social media things, as in, well, maybe not social media, as in, we watch TV differently now. Sometimes we watch it through the computer, sometimes we watch it on cable, sometimes we watch it, and I'm going to round them out together. In fact, that's our first thing. This is the top 10 television, internet, I can call it, programs that I enjoyed this year. Now, before we get into the top 10 list, two of the shows that I usually make the list aren't on it this year, Big Bang Theory and Coronation Street. Although I found Big Bang Theory was still funny, I felt it's kind of dwindling in the last couple of years. Sadly, this was the show that kind of made nerds and geeks sexy again, but ironically, it is now kind of going into that realm when they all start getting married and having kids, and now, the show is just looking for almost cheap laughs. Even stuff they said they never do, they're starting to do, because they realize they're running out of stuff. It's still a funny show, and I have to say that even a lukewarm Big Bang Theory episode is better than something like Two Broke Girls, or Mom, or Mike and Molly. I apologize if you're fans of those three shows. It's just, Big Bang Theory is still funny, but didn't make the list this year. Also, Coronation Street, one of my favorite, probably the only soap opera I watch right now, did not make the list either. And the reason why is this year's been damn shitty. I'm not afraid to say that. Luckily, the head writer they have right now is going to be leaving soon, and we're going to have a new person coming in. He has done so much damage to this show, and this year, I think, has been the lowest ever. It's one thing to do far-fetched stories, which I don't mind. I used to watch American soaps, and I'm used to it. But when you start having characters just doing things that they normally don't do just to fit a story, like things that go against their character, this show has been a mess ever since they killed off Tina, and it's just hasn't been able to get back on track. Every time they say they've got event shows that are going to make it, always a mess. They've had a couple of bright spots here and there, but luckily they have a phenomenal cast that makes crap material look good. But I really thought this year was an absolute mess, and I look forward to this returning to the top 10 when it gets fixed up. Hopefully. But now, let's get to the top 10 television programs for me in 2015. Coming in at number 10 is a show that actually airs on 57, and I watch it through the computer. That's why I've added this, because I do watch a couple of television shows on the thing. It's EP Daily. Electric Playground. It's been around for 25 years. In fact, it's just celebrating that. I used to watch this. Now, I haven't played video games in such a long time. I go back to the days of Pac-Man and Donkey Kong and Frogger, stuff like that. But I've always kind of enjoyed Electric Playground. Now, they do delve into TV and movies, but primarily it's all about video games. But I still find video games fascinating. Now, I stopped watching Electric Playground, but when I found out I could watch it online, I started to, and I enjoyed it again. And I decided I'm going to put it at number 10 because I still think it's an informative show. I love that it's Canadian and it has a Canadian feel and deals with that. I think it's just a cool little show. Sadly, I don't know what the future is. I know they won't be airing on 57 or any cable networks in the new year because they've announced it several times near the end of 2015. They make it sound like new episodes will still air online and on YouTube, and that's where you can see it. Longtime host and creator Victor Lucas looks like... I'm not sure. He said a goodbye for the year message that almost sounded like he might be moving on, but we're going to have to wait and see. Anyhow, it's still a great show. You can go online at epdaily.com, I believe it is. Look for it, and you can watch old episodes, and I really recommend it. It's a great, informative show. Coming in at number 9 is The Arrow. Now, this show was a little higher up last season. Still a great show. I still love it. Stephen Amell is absolutely amazing. Check out his personal Facebook. I've never seen an actor who takes so much involvement in his own site for charities and just for fun stuff, like he's a big wrestling fan, and just a wonderful guy. And The Arrow did some storylines that I wasn't too sold on this year. There's going to be no spoilers in this best of it all, so I'm going to be very vague. But there were some things I just didn't like about it. I still found it very entertaining and the writing's solid. I think the effects are good. If you've never checked out The Arrow, check it out right from the beginning. Awesome supporting cast. They've done a lot of big things, but I don't think they all worked, and I think that's why it was a little lower this year on my list. Coming in at number 8, Chicago Fire. This is a show I just binge-watched on. I'll be honest with you, there were a couple of good-looking men on this, and I asked for it last year for Christmas, and I got the first 2 seasons, but I love a show that I'm watching for shallow reasons, and then by the end of it I'm realizing that I love so much about this show. Chicago Fire it's a soap opera in a way, and the stuff that these people go through is absolutely incredible. And it does show you the behind the scenes of a firehouse, which is nice. I think other shows have tried to do that, but this one really succeeds. A spectacular cast, Jesse Spencer, Taylor Kinney, very hot men. But then it's some of the other characters I just fell in love with, and I just forgot that I was watching it for shallow reasons. This show is so good, I think I'm now going to have to watch its spin-offs, because they have Chicago PD and Chicago, the medical one. I don't know what it is, but I don't know about the medical one. But they've crossed over the PD so much in season 2. I think I may have to commit to that now too, because just phenomenal writing. The character work is great. If you like a good drama, check it out. Chicago Fire. Coming in at number 7 is Bates Motel, and I think this probably should have been higher, but there's just so many good shows I've been watching this year. I fell in love with this show immediately. I started watching it. It's been on now for a couple seasons, and I've seen a couple seasons. If you were a fan of Twin Peaks and shows like that, you'll love Bates Motel. This is a quirky show. Although, it's based on the Psycho movie, Norman Bates and his mother. I love that it goes into so much more. Like, the town has just got so many secrets, and the characters are all damaged. And I've always liked shows like that. This show won me over immediately, before the opening credits of the first show aired, because it's hard to explain, but there's a wonderful scene where Norman's mother takes him to the new motel she has just bought. And before they even show you what that looks like, you know, she has Norman close his eyes and she poses on the car. And you see Norman sees his mother, then he looks over at the motel. And then you see he looks up. And you know, if you're a Psycho fan like I am, you know he's looking at that big creepy house. And it just set the tone so beautifully. But what I couldn't even imagine is the acting quality. It's a nice creepy show, but I always forget the lady's name, Vera. Oh, I can't remember her name. That's a horrible pop culture guy I am. Freddie Highmore is absolutely spectacular, and Vera, I want to say, oh my God, I will come up with it. But anyhow, their performances are so top-notch, and I think you should check it out. You do not have to have seen the original Psycho to enjoy this film. Because the movie is so much different. But every once in a while, it basically goes there and gives little, you know, like Easter eggs towards the movie. And, you know, for a movie buff like me, I absolutely love it. It's Vera Farmiga, and she's always been a wonderful actress and continues to be. And she should be, I don't know why she hasn't got an Emmy nomination for her performance in this show, because it is that spectacular, and just all the performances are really good. Okay, coming in at number 6 is Tosh Pointo. Okay, some of you are groaning right now. This show's been on for a long time, and I know it's not politically correct, but when we get politically correct, and I have to say that in 2015, I just felt that we went really politically correct this year, like to the point that it was just absolutely crazy. I tend to go to something, I'm like a moth to a flame, I go to something that is not politically correct, and Tosh Pointo gave me that in abundance. And I love that Daniel Tosh, the host, just goes to places that people are thinking. And I don't care what, most of us are thinking that, but he will say it. And you might, you know, take the high road, and that's fine. But I absolutely adore the show. And I got lots of laughs through this hard time because of that show. So coming in at number 6 is Tosh Pointo. Coming in at number 5, The Flash. I am not a big Flash fan whatsoever. Like, I like, you know, there's nothing wrong with him. When I watched the animated series Justice League, I became a bigger fan of his because I thought he was kind of a unique character and they dealt with him good. But when they said they were going to spin off The Flash from The Arrow, I decided I'd watch it. Again, shallow, based on totally the Grant Gustin who plays The Flash. I know a lot of people think he's just a pretty boy, but I watched it, and it was amazing how much I fell in love with The Flash. I thought the story was phenomenal. Again, the characters are fun. I like that they've taken some chances, like when I heard that they were bringing Gorilla Grodd in it. I couldn't believe it, because it's like, wow, they're actually going to take really hard characters to pull off in modern times and go for it. I think they've done so much in success with this show, and I think it has succeeded The Arrow a little better. I think it's a little more lighthearted, which I like, but they fit beautifully together. Whenever they cross over, I'm so excited about it, because the shows feel so similar. You can tell, like sometimes you see shows that are done by the same creators and producers, and they don't feel. The Flash and The Arrow seem so interchangeable, it's nice. So number 5 is The Flash. Number 4 is another show I watch online, and it became probably my most watched show. It was AMC Movie Talk, but sometime during the year it became Collider Movie Talk, and it's hosted by a whole bunch of movie geeks that I have fallen madly in love with. They do things I'd love to do, and it's so inspiring. Its host, John Campea, is a Hamilton boy who basically did little podcasts and little blogs online, and now he's in Los Angeles going to like Star Wars movie premieres, and he hangs with such a cool group of people. So many to mention, but my favorites are Mark Ellis, who's a comedian who also big movie buff, John Schnapp, who's absolutely phenomenal, and Christian Harloff, who I have a big crush on. He's a wonderful movie critic, and he's just so cute. And they give you daily doses of movie news. And yeah, they mostly stick to like Marvel or Star Wars or stuff. But you know what? They do talk about other things, and I get my movie news there. I get my analyses there. I'm not the kind that believes everything they say, but it's interesting, and it's like a bunch of guys hanging out. They recently did a couple of the Star Wars movies where they just showed their reaction while they watched the prequels, and it was a lot of fun to watch. I couldn't believe I'm just sitting there watching a bunch of guys watching a show, ragging on it, and I loved it. Well, I like Mystery Science Theater, so I don't know why I wouldn't like that. So number 4, check it out, Collider Movie Talk. It's usually on weekdays, and you can catch it on YouTube, and definitely worth it if you're a movie fan. Coming in at number 3, Modern Family. I avoided this show for a long, long time because every time I tuned in, the gay guys rubbed me the wrong way because of the fact that they just seemed so stereotyped. And now I'm a personal believer that, and this is going to be wrong, but I don't care, stereotypes are real. And they don't have to be real. There's a lot of people that buck the stereotype, but there is a reason for stereotypes. A lot of them fit the thing. Anyhow, Mike and I saw a couple episodes fully, and we decided to start collecting the series, and I've even talked about it in a segment. I absolutely fell in love with it, and I think, although they were stereotyped a bit, Cam and Mitch are a little bit like us. And I hate to admit it, but we're not maybe as crazy or over the top as them, but yeah, there's moments where Mike looks over at me, I look over him, and I'm like, don't say a thing. Because we are very much like those characters. You'll have to listen to my Modern Family review that I did in the past to see which one's which. I also have always had a weird obsession with Ed O'Neill. I've had a bit of a weird crush on him. Something about him that I've always found attractive, and even so on this show. Coming in at number 2, Daredevil. Another TV series about superheroes. I didn't want to watch Daredevil, but somebody kept telling me, do it. And I found myself absolutely engrossed in this show. A little darker than the Arrow and the Flash, what I loved about this show is not only the well-written characters. You know, I said to myself, I didn't actually like the guy they cast as Daredevil when they first announced it, and I fell for him totally in the first episode. But I have said that any show that makes me care for the superhero just as much as the villain, because Vincent D'Onofrio as the Kingpin is absolutely terrifying and sweet at the same time. Both characters, Charlie Cox as Daredevil, phenomenal performances. All the characters in this are wonderful. What I love about this show is it's not afraid to take its time, even though it's only like a 13 episode, I believe, mini-series kind of thing for season 1. There are scenes of dialogue that just keep going. And in this world where we have to splice everything so quick, it's so refreshing when they just linger on scenes for a time. There's also a phenomenal action sequence in a hallway that is all done in one take that is just, as I'd have to pick up my jaw and put it back up, because I was just like, I had to rewatch it because I was like, is that really like one take? Anyhow, just a phenomenal show, number 2. Coming in at number 1, this is probably number 1 last year too. I still love the show. People bitch and complain about it, but for me, it's still one of the best things out there, The Walking Dead. My friend Damien recommended this to me. I avoided it because I was just so sick of zombies. But you know what? Walking Dead is just such a beautiful show. I find the visuals are artistic. I love the characters. I love that I'm on the edge of my seat, never knowing who's going to live, who's going to die. They always surprise me. And it's just a phenomenal show. If you have not invested in this show yet, I strongly recommend it. I know people bitch and complain about it and, compare it to the comic book. But you know what? Honestly, it's a different media. I hate when people like, oh, the source material, well, screw the source material. It's a different media. They have to deal with it in a different way. The people that read the graphic novel aren't necessarily always the ones watching it. There's new people watching this not knowing it's from a graphic novel, and they've got to deal with all aspects of it. I think they've done a phenomenal job. And from what I've heard, the novels are really, really dark, so you're probably just a perv or, a sadist or something if you want to see what they write in there and here. But anyhow, I still think it's a great character study. I'm ready for the zombie apocalypse. I don't know how well I'd survive, but I know some friends who claim they would, but after watching The Walking Dead, I think I would last longer than they are, but I won't mention names. Anyhow, that's my top 10 of television. I'm going to take a short break, and we're going to come back and talk the top 10 songs I loved the most in 2015. Stay tuned. Hello, we're back, and we're taking a look at my personal best of 2015. No, not of the podcast. I couldn't. That'd be like, grading your children, like putting one higher than the other. I enjoyed doing all the podcasts, so I couldn't just put my favorites. Well, I could, but I'm not going to. This is my favorites of the year in movies, television, and right now, music. Music is very important to me. It's helped me through a lot. Whenever I'm having a really bad time, I listen to music and stuff. I've always been more of a singles person or a person who listens to just the song. I do listen to albums and stuff, but I'm more going to be picking my top 10 favorite singles of the year. And before we get to the top 10, my favorites, we're going to do some honorable mentions. And these were songs that, just entertained me just as much, but didn't make it on my list. And as I said, this could change like any list, depending on my mood. But this is where my mood is right now. I want to give honorable mention first to Amnesia by 5 Seconds of Summer. This was actually a 2014 hit. It came out about the middle of last year, and we played it for a long time, my friends and I. And after Target went, this song became even more important to me. I remember actually being locked in one of the Target conference rooms, just replaying this song over and over. Just a great song, and although it wasn't really a 2015 hit, I want to give it a shout out because it really became a big hit favorite for me. I also want to put Sugar by Maroon 5 in that. They keep hitting it out of the park. I didn't even think I liked this song, but there's something about Maroon 5 songs that just grow on you. Better to Be Loved by Francesco Yates, a young Canadian kid who just gave one of the most solid grooves around there. Feel It by Toby Mac. He's a Christian rocker that always brings it, and Feel It was just a phenomenal thing. Whatever this guy comes out with is amazing because he tries different things. He's definitely not like your regular Christian rocker where he just stays with one formula. And this one, if you haven't heard it, check it out. Feel It, Toby Mac featuring Mr. Talkbox. And Selena Gomez gave us The Heart Wants What It Wants, a great song. I think I like the sentiment more because I started using that long, The Heart Wants What It Wants. I thought that became one of my favorite quotes of 2015, so I thought I'd give her a shout out. And finally, my favorite diva, Olivia Newton-John, broke some records on Billboard. She had her first dance hit, believe it or not, in her career, not even physical. When it was huge in the 80s, the dance didn't make the dance charts as high as this one did, but she finally went to number one. Dave Odd was the guy who remixed her in a song that's called You Have to Believe. And although it featured Olivia Newton-John, it also featured her daughter, Chloe Lattanzi. And basically, that song not only was Olivia's first number one song, but it was the first mother and daughter team to sing in a dance song. And so she broke some records on Billboard, and it's nice to know as she's closing in on 70, she can still break records. And of course, I Have to Believe samples my favorite song of all time, Magic. So have to give that a shout out. But now it's time for my 10 favorite songs of the year. Some of them you probably know because they were played ad nauseum on radio stations. Some you might not know, but hopefully I will inspire you to look them up. Coming in at number 10, I've always been a sucker for bad boys, and there's a group of Australian guys that just do crazy things on YouTube. They actually also write and perform music, and I fell in love with this bad boy anthem. This is the Janoskians with song number 10 on my countdown, Would You Love Me? Yeah, the Janoskians, they're just kind of goofy kids. I love the video to this, Probably people think you're in your 40s and you still listen to this kind of stuff. I love this kind of stuff. I love this in your face, blah, 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 blah. Like, not too many songs I know just have that in the middle of it. I don't know what it is. I just crank it up when it comes on. Maybe it makes me feel like the bad boy I never was, or that, at 48 years old that I can still be the bad boy, or something like that. I don't know. Maybe this is my way of, since I was good all my life, fighting it back. Love this song. Love some of their other songs, too. Coming in at number 9, I'm very happy to promote this young man. I saw him perform at the Staircase, and he is a young man. I think he's 14. He might be 15 now. Liam McGibbon. And he comes from a very musical family. I've seen his dad perform. I think I've seen his mom perform. And he is just an incredible young guitarist. But what really surprised me is he released a video on YouTube. And you should check it out because everybody should see this. And I listened to it. I was like, okay, I'll be nice. I'll listen to it. And then I kept going back and listening to it. And I listened to this quite a lot. I think it's a beautiful song. It's called Someday. Yeah, and I don't know, for such a young kid, I think this song has so much heart, and there's so much about it. I like it. It has an old style feel, just the way they produced it. I think this kid has a lot of big things. In fact, if you get the chance, a cheap plug, go to the Staircase. There is so much amazing talent there. You might actually see Liam there. Go see him there before he becomes a big, big star, because I think he does have the chops, and what a great tune. Coming in at number 8 is just a fun pop song. You're going to find a lot of them on my charts. It's by a British man that I think we get every once in a while. I used to love Robbie Williams, but we didn't play him a lot. Well, here in Canada, I think we played him a little more. But I think we're starting to play more of his stuff now. I'm talking about a guy named Ollie Murs. He actually won X Factor, I believe he won. And he gives us solid pop tunes, and this year he gave us a song called Wrapped Up featuring Travis McCoy. That's my number 8 tune, and just a fun. I love it because it's got like that boy band kind of feel. It feels like something maybe Rick Astley would have came out. It also has kind of an 80s tempo, but it's still fresh. Like, that's one thing I absolutely adore about it. It still has a fresh quality about it. And, yeah, absolutely a big fan of that song. Coming in at number 7 is a song you probably haven't heard. It didn't get played a lot on radio, and it's too bad because it's a beautiful song with a beautiful sentiment in it. And yes, it has some gay overtones, and I figure that's probably why radio stations avoided it like the plague, but honestly, it is so beautiful. Song number 7 is Boys in the Street by Greg Holden. This song is absolutely heartbreaking. If you listen to it, and I right after this show, I think you should go and look at it. Such a beautiful, it tells a story about a father and son, and you got to hear the whole song to get the whole meaning. It just rocks my soul. I think it's a great song. It's too bad that, I know people keep saying how we're making progress, that gays are making progress, and yes, we are. But it's sad that a song like that doesn't make it. Now, it might not make it because of the gay social tones. It might just because it kind of has a twangy, bluesy kind of bluegrass feel to it, or whatever you want to call it. But it's a great song. I had to put it on my list. Here's a song that all radio stations played. In fact, they still play it. And it's came out in 2014, but it didn't hit its stride till 2015. In fact, I read a great article about how does a song that's released in Christmas become 2015's top song of summer? Well, ask the people of Walk the Moon, because they did it. And my song number 6 is Shut Up and Dance. It's such an amazing feel-good tune. Like, it just makes you want to get up and wiggle your ass. And I think, sure, you can release party songs at Christmas, but this does feel more summery. So I think that's why it stuck around, and then people just went nuts playing it in the summer. I know this is probably one of the songs that people are like, I'm so sick of that one, but I try to go back to when I first started hearing it, and it just made me want to move my feet, and I just think it's a great dance track, and deserved to be on my chart. Coming in at number 5 is one, when it first came out, I didn't really write into it, but I've never really given this guy enough credit, and I tend to catch on his songs a little late than never. Ed Sheeran. I love singer-songwriters, but for some reason I never jumped on the bandwagon when he came out with A-Team and stuff. Now that I've gone back and listened to some of his stuff is absolutely amazing, but I was there for when this was a hit this year. Thinking Out Loud is song number 5. This song is getting played at many weddings, and it's understandable. If you listen to all the lyrics, it is a perfect wedding song. It probably gets overplayed a lot, but you know what? Again, it's still beautiful. I love when singers-songwriters can just capture your soul and just kind of give you, just taps right in there. And this song does that. And I think my niece had this at her wedding, and it was a good choice because it is such a perfect song for that. Coming in at number 4 is probably one of the most different songs that they did play on the radio. I love when a song comes in that just doesn't feel like all the other songs. There are so many like going out clubbing, dance and shake your ass, smutty songs out there. And then a song like this one hits and becomes a huge hit everywhere, and it's like, but it doesn't feel like any of the other songs that are being played on the radio. Song number 4, Take Me to Church by Hozier. It's such a powerful song. It just, it demands your attention when it comes on the radio. I think people just fell in love with it because it is different than most things coming out right now. It'll be interesting to see if he can make it past this. I know he's had a couple other singles that have done okay, but, not quite as well. When you have a song that's so different like this, sometimes it's hard to sustain a career because people want different, but they claim they want different, but they don't really, and they want more of this. But what a great song to give us, one of my personal favorites of the year. I've always been a fan of the Jonas Brothers. I have supported them. I used to watch their show. I thought that they were underrated as musicians. I think they got caught into the boy band phase when they weren't really. Like, they didn't sing and dance or do choreographed dance moves. They actually played their own instruments, and young Nick Jonas wrote a lot of their music. And I don't think they got the credit they do. In fact, I've heard stories that a lot of musicians have listened to their stuff in the past and said, you know what, you guys don't get enough credit. And I think the Jonas name now just gets taken as, oh, they were cute little boy band members. But you know what? Nick has tried to go solo several times. 2015, he finally did it. Not only that, he did a lot more. He was on a hit TV show, Kingdom, where he played a kickboxer. I think he really proved people wrong, but he did it on the charts too with this track, which is my number 3 one, Jealous. Nick finds his own feet in this song, and he almost kind of taps a little Justin Timberlake and a lot of sex appeal. He went from being the young, cute, curly-haired Jonas. He basically shaved his head, got his muscles and working, and he looks great. And he sounds great too. Jealous was just one of his successes. As I said, he had a hit TV show with Kingdom, playing a kickboxer. And then, like MMA, mixed martial arts. And then he had a song called Levels, and he even guested on a song called Sure Thing by Sage the Gemini. All solid singles, but I chose Jealous as my number 3 song. Song number 2 to me is an ultimate crime, because sometimes artists get just thrown away as pop nothing, and you'll stay on the Disney channels, you'll stay on Nickelodeon. And they have given us so much great music. I'm talking a group called R5. They're a family group based on 4 family members and a friend of the family. And, of course, their lead singer, or one of their leads, is Ross Lynch, who was the star of Austin and Ally and Teen Beach Movie 1 and 2. And I think because he is in the band, people just write them off as nothing. Go listen to some of their stuff. R5, look for it, because they give us solid stuff. They actually gave us, in my opinion, one of the best songs of the year, and it is so sad that I hear some of the stuff that they will play on these Virgin Top 40 radio, and they do not play something like this. The song is my number 2 song. It's called Smile. All the songs I've heard from R5 have been astonishing. Even the pop stuff that they gave us that I didn't like at first always grows on me. Smile to me is such a well-produced song, and the feelings I get from this, it makes me smile, and that means it lived up to it. It is a phenomenal song. Go listen to it, please. If you do me one favor, go check this song out. It might not be your cup of tea, but you can't tell me that this isn't a well put together pop song. Why is this not getting played on radio stations? That's one thing I love at least about YouTube and multimedia, is that you can actually search out good music that, maybe the top 40 stations tell us it's not good enough. No, you can go find this stuff. My number 1 song is a song that they played everywhere. I'm sure many of you are sick of it. I honestly could still listen to this several hundred times and not get sick of it, just because I love this song so much. My number 1 song of 2015 is Uptown Funk by Mark Ronson and Bruno Mars. This song captures such nostalgia of the old-style funk sound, but stays absolutely fresh. This makes me want to sing, it makes me want to dance, it makes me want to just go out and be as cool as this song is. I can't say enough about this song. When this song comes on, it just drives me absolutely wild, and I lose all control. And as I said, this gets played ad nauseum. I still can listen to it. I'm not sick of it. And there are songs that I can get sick of if I listen to a lot, and it's like, okay, it's now time to put it away. This song, I'm not problemed with at all. So there it is, my number 1 song of the year, Uptown Funk, Mark Ronson with Bruno Mars. Phenomenal song. I may go listen to it right now. No, I got a show to finish. I won't do that unless they permit me to let me play it here. Anyhow, that's my look at music. It's time for movies up next. And I'll count down my 10 favorite movies right after this. Hello, we're back, and I'm Devlin, and I'm here with the best of 2015. And we are now up to our final category. It's movies. Me being a big movie fan, I decided I'd end with this one because, well, I just love movies. I think anybody who's listened to any amount of my radio show or just has sat and talked with me knows that I am a movie buff. And with that going, we will waste no time. Before we get to the top 10, though, we've got 6 honorable mentions that never made the top 10, but I think are just worthy to mention anyhow. I will do them really quick. Honorable mentions in the movie category. Creed. Some people want to call it Rocky 7, but Creed is pretty much a standalone film. You don't have to see any of the other ones. It is a wonderful film. Michael B. Jordan is absolutely great, and I wouldn't be surprised if Sylvester Stallone gets an Oscar nomination for returning as Rocky Balboa in a supporting role. It's just a feel-good film and a great boxing film, too. Creed. Also Spy with Melissa McCarthy. I never get bored of Melissa, but sometimes she can be in some vehicles that don't work. This one did. What I liked about Spy the most is not only is it a parody of spy movies, but it takes itself serious. The action sequences are actually pretty spectacular, and a great supporting cast with Jason Statham being one of the top people next to her, just showing off good stuff. Straight Outta Compton, wonderful drama about the making of NWA, a really thoroughly engrossing film that just had me very invested. I didn't know much about this group. I did know some of their music, but a solid movie. Definitely check it out. Cinderella, the Disney remake live action, I think was absolutely spectacular. I wanted to go in this not liking it because I loved the original animated one so well, but Kenneth Branagh, the director, just made a beautiful film and brought this to life so well. Definitely going to be a classic in the years to come. Goodnight Mommy. This is probably the best horror movie of the year. It is a foreign film. I can't remember exactly where it came from. A creepy little film about, well, I don't want to give too much away, but it's basically about a couple of kids that visit their mother who has just been recovering from a vicious auto accident, and it is creepy all the way through, and it's one of those old-time creeps where they don't rush to give you details. You just simmer and enjoy every moment. Goodnight Mommy, look for it, especially if you're a horror fan. And finally, Goosebumps. I never followed the original series. I was way too old to read the books when they came out, but I think they did an awesome thing. I think if you read the books, you probably even get a bigger kick out of it. Jack Black stars in this. I think it's a good Halloween romp for the whole family, and I definitely recommend it. But now it's time to get to our 10 best movies of the year. Okay, that didn't work out well for me. Okay, here's my top 10 movies of 2015. Coming in at number 10, The Hunger Games, Mockingjay Part 2. All the series have been in my top 10. This probably ranked a little lower, but don't get me wrong, there was just a lot of good movies this year, but this one ranks number 10. I really liked how it all ended. I wasn't a reader of the book. Again, I'm not going to give any spoilers for these movies because I want you to go out and enjoy them yourself. But I thought it was a really good ending. Probably didn't go exactly the way I thought, but sometimes that's good. But anyhow, still enjoyable. Jennifer Lawrence, really, stepped up to the plate as Katniss in this whole series. I think Josh Hutcherson actually really stole the movie in the scenes he was in as Peeta. But just a great film. Definitely check it out. Coming in at number 9, The Martian with Matt Damon. This saw Ridley Scott come to form again. He was the man behind Alien and I believe Blade Runner, and he just, hasn't really been giving us his all in the science fiction department, but he took this book that just blew me away. I was on the edge of my seat for the whole time. It's very funny. There's some really, nice moments to it. There's also very tender moments. I don't think Matt Damon gets enough recognition as an actor, but I think this one he really made his own, and this shows you all the different ways he can be. Phenomenal film. I know many of you probably saw it because it was one of the big blockbusters of the year, but if you haven't, check it out. The Martian. Coming in at number 8, Trainwreck. Amy Schumer went from the small screen to the big screen with this adaptation. I could say it was groundbreaking because it basically is a film we'd probably see normally starring a man, and she kind of broke things. But, I don't think it should be an issue of man or woman. This is just a very funny film. I think she had some very good supporting cast. I personally think John Cena was an absolute riot in this film. And she's wonderful in this too, and I think the comedy is solid. I found myself laughing out big. There was a lot of comedies I enjoyed this year. I'm also one of the few that actually enjoyed the remake of Vacation, but I think out of all the movies, this one made me laugh out loud several times. And Bill Hader proven himself to not only be very funny as we knew he could be, but as a very tender leading man too. Coming in at number 7, Ex Machina. Ex Machina. Ex Machina. I don't know how to pronounce this movie, but I can tell you that it's a phenomenal film. This is science fiction to a whole new level. It is nothing you've ever seen before. or maybe you have. I haven't. It blew me away. It is just such an invested interest in its subject matter. You know, it's basically a scientist who thinks he's created, you know, this phenomenal... Again, I don't want to reveal it so much, but kind of an android. But it's bigger than that. And he brings in this person to interact with it to see if it works. The movie is a drama. It's got some comedy in it. The performances by the three main stars are phenomenal. I really hope the Academy remembers this one for performances and for the actual movie. As I said, it's science fiction. It's got a trace of horror in there. It is just one of the best of the year. It's only 7 on mine, but I still, again, I vote for movies very differently than other people. I don't just say, oh, great acting and drama. I go for all kinds of feelings. But still a worthy movie. It's probably the littlest known in my top 10. So go check it. Ex Machina. Ex Machina. That's what I'm going to call it. Coming in at number 6, and probably higher on most people's lists, Mad Max 4 Fury Road. Don't get me wrong, I love this movie. I don't think I loved it as much as everybody else did, but I did love it. Visually, styling, it was phenomenal. It fits beautifully into the Mad Max series. You know, it doesn't need Mel Gibson. Tom Hardy does just as well. Charlize Theron is phenomenal in this movie. I know a lot of people say that she hijacked the film and turned it into a feminist film, but I don't get that at all. I think there's just enough action for both of them to go around. I think they're both strong characters. Yeah, there's so much that is in my head after this movie. It was just a wild ride that just you strap in and that's it. You know, even when there's moments when they're like slowing it down, you know it's not going to be long. So get that seatbelt. Just wear your seatbelt through the whole thing, because this is going to blow you away. It's unbelievable when you think how old George Miller is, and he's directing a movie that's balls to the walls like this. Number 6, Mad Max Fury Road. Check it out. Number 5 is The Avengers Age of Ultron. I like this movie. I actually didn't think I was going to like it while I was watching it, because I would say about the first little bit, I was mesmerized by the visuals and said, Joss Whedon's done it again. But there was still something missing until they start showing some of the character interactions, and then they started winning me over again. When they start dealing with characters and stuff. I love the first Avengers so much. I think it has become my favorite superhero movie. And I honestly think that this... by the end of it, I was just wowed by this movie. I can't wait to see it again. Lots of characters, so a lot of juggling of storylines, but I think Joss brought it all together. As much as I'm sad to see him leaving the series, I'm also kind of happy because it's nice to when you freshen things up a bit. And you go into this, you know, with new people looking into it. It can be scary, but I think they've got this series. They haven't done any real clinkers yet. So I think Marvel knows what they're doing in this realm. Coming in at number 4, the Peanuts movie. Now, yes, this one goes on nostalgia, and rightfully so. This movie is totally nostalgic, and it's just nice to, not only that we get to see the Peanuts in more of a 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional world, but that they didn't change it up. There's nothing worse when you go into something from your childhood and they try to make it all hip and trendy. They didn't. Like, these characters are still doing the same things they did in the specials, and some people might think that's kind of stale. But I think that the box office proves that this movie has won over many people, and maybe even brought in a whole generation of new young fans. I like that they still use, Snoopy still types on a typewriter. I love that there's no cell phones. They're still using rotary phones. I love that this movie just reeks of that nostalgia and never betrays what it is. You don't hear them do hip-hop and stuff. Even when they use popular music or new stuff, it's done in such a sweet way. It's not even like, it's not like the, like Alvin and the Chipmunks where they're dancing to, like, I love big butts and I cannot lie, The peanuts are fairy thing, and that's the thing I was looking for. I saw this twice at the theater and just thought it was absolutely magical. And yeah, I'm happy that it's so high in my list, and I can't wait to see it again. I I probably gave this points even higher because I love just being with Mike and looking over and seeing his face light up when he saw, Snoopy and Woodstock on the screen, doing their hijinks. Just a great film. I love that kids were enjoying it just as much as their, parents. And that's one thing I love about nostalgic kids films. Coming in at number 3, The Kingsmen. I love this movie. I didn't probably love it as much as Kick-Ass, which is by the same director, but it is a fun little movie, and we've seen so many spy movies, British spy movies, that this one is just very different in every essence. Colin Firth is just absolutely... We have not seen him like this. Like, he's kicking ass in this movie. And I love that they picked an actor that is not known for kicking ass. We think of him from Pride and Prejudice and all these, Bridget Jones' Diary kind of movies. And the fact they picked him and he kicks ass is what makes this movie phenomenal. It's funny, it's goofy, it's crazy, and there's a lot of heart in it. And the newcomer in this, I want to say it's Taron Egerton, is just phenomenal. I can't wait to see what he does next. I have a feeling he might be in the running for young Han Solo. Even though he doesn't look like Harrison, I think he's definitely going to offer a lot to any movie he's in. So check it out if you haven't already, The Kingsmen. Coming in at number 2, Jurassic World. This is not just because Chris Pratt looks so damn fine in this movie. Although I do make the common joke that I didn't even notice there were dinosaurs the first time I saw it because he just, so great in this movie. No, Jurassic World stands on its own. I love this movie, brings us back to the nostalgic of the original. It follows the original, but I think is different in its own way. I like Bryce Dallas Howard in this movie. I think she is phenomenal. I like the kids in this movie, and I like the dinosaurs. I love that it wasn't just us going back to the island again. I love that Jurassic World actually got made. And, like from the original promised, we're going to do an amusement thing, and that things start to run amok. There's so much awesomeness here. I look forward to the next one. I hope they can find a different spin on it. I just think it's an entertaining film. It's an amusement ride, which 2 and 3 never really were. They just seem tedious, but this brings us back to the amazement and reminded me how awesome the first one was. It would have been nice to see like Jeff Goldblum or Sam Neill return, but maybe in the next one. And as long as Chris Pratt's coming back and some dinosaurs, I will be there. Great movie. It's my number 2 one of 2015. I wish we had a drum roll for this, but some of you probably won't be much surprised by it, but my number 1 movie of 2015, it's the best I can do. Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. Again, it might be nostalgia. I have seen it twice since I'm recording this, but I absolutely love this movie. Again, no spoilers because it's still early on and I don't want people to blame me for ruining it, but I just have to say I absolutely love what they did to this movie. I knew it was in safe hands with J.J. Abrams. I don't think it was perfect in any way. I have my problems with it, but again, I'll talk to you in private with me if you have seen it already. I don't want to give up anything here, but the 2 things I will say about it that are quite controversial. Actually, before I say that, one of the things I like about it, I like that it progresses the story. I love seeing my old favorites come back in this. I loved seeing where they were in their life and finally knowing what happened to them. I loved all the new characters here. I think they all did an amazing job. I think Kylo Ren could be on my way of being one of the best villains I've ever seen, just because he's so out there. Like, he's We've seen villains who are torn before, but this is like a wonderful torn. He wasn't just a rehash of Darth Vader, which I think a lot of people expected. He is totally his own original character. That being said, the problems I had with it, and as I said, it couldn't be too many problems because it still came out as my #1 movie of the year, is one, and I'm going to say this, I don't think this movie is as good as J.J. Abrams' first Star Trek movie. I still think that was a better film than this was. And I also think Guardians of the Galaxy was a better film than this was. I do think this is a wonderful film and does things right. All I'll say is, here's the controversial bit, is that I think the prequels, I am one of the few people who like the prequels, and I'm glad it gets away from the style of the prequels, but at the same time, the prequels took some risks. And again, I'll talk to you about this if you want to after you've seen it, but I wish they took a little more risks than the prequels did. Not necessarily saying about the big storyline plot twists that the prequels did, but things in the way that they dealt with things, I think the prequels actually did better than this movie did. But that doesn't stop me from naming it my favorite movie of 2015, Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. Yeah, I didn't see that one coming. I know, I'm predictable. What can I say? Anyhow, I have had a great time taking this journey with you into 2015. Believe it or not, we're moving into another year. I can't wait to do that new year because, as I said, this year hasn't been my best, but I'll talk about that on the next show. I'm looking forward to so much in 2016, not only in things progressing with my life, but even with all the entertainment. There's so many big movies and television and music we're being promised next year. I can't wait for it. One of my big highlights of 2015 is no surprise. It's doing this podcast and hearing from all the people who have embraced this show. Some of you might be regular listeners. Some of you may only listen once in a blue moon. Whatever the case, I thank you. You don't know how therapeutic this has been, and I'm going to continue in the new year, bringing you brand new episodes, bringing you co-hosts, some that have been here before, new ones. I want to constantly do things. We're also going to try some new things. Just nothing we can talk about right now, but look for them. You will see them. I plan to take this media and maybe other things to another level for me. They may not be groundbreaking for everybody else, but for me, it's groundbreaking. Anyhow, thank you for enjoying the ride with me, and if you took the time to listen to this episode, I am going to be back next week, and I will talk to you very soon.